We're back with Mark Eichler, continuing our discussion about prescription drug formularies. Now we're going to talk about common terms in formularies and prescription drugs overall. First off, Mark, though, I just wanted to ask, can formularies change?
Yes, Lisa, formularies can change, but on a limited basis over the course of a planned year. For example, if a new drug comes out on the market or a new formulation of that drug or any drug might come out, they have to be added to the formulary, so that can occur throughout the year. Most drugs, however, that are established on the formulary at the beginning of the plan year tend not to change formulary status over that time period. Unless there's maybe a new generic option, for example, for a brand name drug in the middle of the year, the formulary may change. Most plans offer at least a 60-day notice of any negative formulary change, and Medicare Part D plans are actually required to do that. So if there is a change in that formulary, so if you're on a particular medication and the formulary tier status might change, or it becomes non-preferred for some reason, or has some step therapy or prior authorization procedures, you're required to be notified within 60 days of that formulary change.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about quantity limits? When folks see quantity limits on a formulary, what's the purpose of that?
Quantity limits are a way for your health plan or your insurer to ensure appropriate use of certain medications. Some health plans or insurers will only allow a 30-day supply of medications to be dispensed. Some plans will allow you to get a 90-day supply of your medication at either a mail facility or at a local pharmacy. That's up to the health plan. Exceptions can always be made to that, but there are also some particular drugs that, it's not always good to have a 90-day supply of, for example, an opioid or a narcotic medication dispensed to any patient.
So speaking about a 90-day supply of medicines, can you talk a little bit about whether or not it would be more beneficial for folks to get a 90-day supply versus a 30-day supply from a cost perspective?
That's always a great question, and it's one you should always have a good conversation with your pharmacist about. Some plans allow, like I just mentioned, a 90-day supply either at a retail store. You can just walk in and pick up a 90-day supply. Some plans do not allow that. They want you to go to a mail facility. So there are ways that you, as a consumer of that, do save money. Typically, your insurer or health plan may only charge you 2 copays for a 90-day supply rather than 3 copays if you got 3 individual 30-day supplies. So there is some cost savings to you. There's also some cost savings to your planner and insurer as well, or your employer.
Something that comes to mind with that is weather. So for example, if somebody were to go ahead and use a mail order pharmacy, can weather impact drugs if it's too cold or too warm and you're getting something via the mail?
That's an especially good question now, this time of year in the wintertime. We're always worried, or even the summertime when the temperatures soar. But typically mail order pharmacies, that's their business. They know how to do that. So I personally don't have a lot of concerns about medications being shipped through the mail in times of temperature extremes, for example. There are some instances, however, if you're going to be on vacation, you might not be home, etc. So if the delivery gets put in your mailbox at home and you don't get to it for 2 or 3 days, that mailbox may be freezing or it may be real hot. So you need to let the people that are mailing that prescription to you know about that, so that you can be home when you need to accept delivery.
Sure. Preferred pharmacy is another term that comes to mind in terms of formularies. What does that mean?
A preferred pharmacy is simply a network of pharmacies, just like a network of physicians or a network of hospitals that your health plan or your insurer has, that the health plan or insurer has negotiated pricing for medications. And then some plans actually close access to certain preferred pharmacies. That's simply all it is. It's just a network of pharmacies that your health plan or insurer has chosen for you to have access to.
As pharmacists, we often get asked, are prices going to be different from one pharmacy to another? Can you touch on that a little bit?
That's a great question. It's kind of a loaded question in the fact that it's a very the drug distribution system and in this country is kind of complex. We have multiple ways for that drug from the manufacturer to get to you as the consumer. And so there are times when drug pricing is difficult. You might show up at one pharmacy. For example, if you were uninsured and were paying cash, the price at one pharmacy might be different than the price at another pharmacy. If you're insured, typically that copay or co-insurance that you're required to pay is generally the same no matter where you go. But if you're uninsured or using a cash price, it's important to always ask the pharmacist about what that might be, because in some cases, even if you are insured, you can ask about a cash price that might be less than your actual copay.
Great. So folks should ask questions to make sure that they're on the right track with pricing.
Absolutely, that's the key.
Yes. All right. Well, great. Thank you. We're going to be continuing on here in a couple of minutes. Thank you for sharing that. Up next, we're going to talk about some money-saving programs and how talking with your prescriber and pharmacist could be good for your wallet. Stay tuned.